Here's an interesting way to stimulate muscle growth: loaded passive stretching. No joke. Studies show that this actually builds more muscle. You just got to do it the right way and at the right time.
What's the term for that?
Well, it's static stretching, but it's loaded. So there's one study I read where Norwegian scientists did this with athletes and saw tremendous growth in both fast twitch and slow twitch muscle fibers. And then there was another study that did this on more advanced athletes, and it saw an improvement of 6% more muscle growth by adding this. Now, the key, go ahead.
Yeah, is this attributed more to the fact that you're holding it in range and you have this like real isometric, strong type of contraction?
Totally.
That might be, because what's interesting is you're not trying to. So let me paint the picture first so we can address that, right?
Yeah.
So
I
essentially,
100% think it's that, though, what he's saying.
so do I. So essentially what you do is, first off, the studies, they're doing the stretching very frequently. So this is done like 5 days a week. Okay, so this would be done with every workout. Number two, it's typically done after a workout or at the end of a set. So to give you an example, let's say I did calf raises on a leg press. So I have my legs out in front of me, I'm doing calf raises, and I do a set until I can't do really too many more reps, and I'm gonna stop the set. Then what I do is I stop I don't rack the weight, I let the weight drop so that my calves are in this deep stretch position, and then I hold that for 60 seconds. Now, it's passive in the sense that I'm not trying to hold it, okay? So it's not like a isometric contraction where I'm trying to hold a weight or balance it or stabilize it. However, I do think some of that's still happening, right? Because the CNS, the muscles have to support it somewhat.
How would you? It's not passive. You can't call that passive.
That's what it's still referred to in the studies.
Really?
Yeah. So
because you can't call that passive.
It's not
because,
accurate.
Yeah, it's not, because then you would be resting on a joint. You are literally in order to keep that from the weight
crushing you.
Yeah, crushing you, right? Or ripping your Achilles off.
Well, it's not
you are actively contracting.
Well, it's not that different from, remember back in the day when you would stretch a client and the client has to relax and you push them into a stretch, but you don't tell them to activate. You just, let's say old school, right? I'm just going to hold your hamstring in a stretch. Very similar. Their CNS is what is preventing that muscle from stretching any further. Right. So I do think that there's some muscle contraction involved, but they call it passive because the person isn't actively trying to.
So the force is basically kind of holding them in that position, pushing them down and sustaining that, that range of motion.
And this is present in a lot of training methodologies. I know in the 80s this was getting somewhat popular. I know in the 90s.
This is popular in bodybuilding.
Yes.
Yeah. In fact, it's made its way into. And that's why I asked you the term for, because there is a term for the one that you do in the workout, like intraset stretching.
Intraset stretching, or they'll say fascial stretching, which I don't like that term because the fascia is like the super tough tissue.
Yeah.
So it's a bit misleading that you're going to stretch it. And there's lots of theories, like one of the body, and this is the good and the bad of the bodybuilding, coaches and trainers. The good is they observe things that work and they repeat it over and over. And then the bad is they try to, explain it away or explain how it's working. And the explanation is usually wrong, but it doesn't mean the results are wrong.
I don't think that's necessarily bad. I mean, that's what you would try and do, right? You observe something, you see it works. It's like you try and communicate as best you can. What I blame more people that harshly criticize that so much.
Well, that's why I think it's bad.
It's just like, it's like harshly criticizing chi and things like that, instead of investigating what is going on here. And maybe instead we want to, and this is one of the annoying things I can't stand about our space.
I can't understand it, dismiss it.
That's right. Or, because there's something that they're saying that is
your explanation is scientifically wrong.
Yes. So then all of a sudden we hammer it, and then other people go, oh, that's stupid. I saw some really smart guy dismiss that and break it down. That's not true. And so then all of a sudden we dismiss something that there's something there.
Well, I agree with you. The reason why I think it's bad is because it does set them up for that, right? So instead of saying, hey, this works, we're not quite sure how it works, but we see that it works quite consistently. What they'll do is they'll say, here's what we think. We think that we're stretching the fascia, and as the fascia expands, it allows for more room for muscle growth. Okay, so it's easy to attack that. And then what happens is people attack the results, just like adrenal fatigue. Remember when the wellness people were like, oh, adrenal fatigue, here's all the symptoms. And then scientists will come out and be like, the adrenals don't get fatigued. Okay, well, really what's happening is there's a dysfunction between, or miscommunication, if you will, between the hypothalamus, the pituitary, the thyroid, and the adrenals. So now that's what they call it, right? They refer to it as that. It's not adrenal fatigue, but the symptoms are still the same, and the solutions are the same. It's the same.
Yeah.
So I don't know if we're stretching the fascia. I think what you guys think, my theory, my hypothesis is because it's in this deep stretch position, the CNS maintains some sort of muscle contraction. That is placing another stress or demand on the muscle, and it's a new novel stimulus.
Well, not to mention, this is where we tend to be the weakest too, right? Is at the end
Yes.
At the end ranges of emotion, we are the weakest, and so loading that, and in being in this kind of isometric position, I think you're going to get some recruitment there.
I think
Which
you expand that strength curve just a bit more because
Right.
now we're focusing on a little bit further beyond, just that peak of contraction. So
Yep.
it's like you just have more muscle potential at that point.
Yeah, Tom Platz did this really well. He was a bodybuilder in the 70s and 80s. And in fact, you can look him up. One of the most flexible bodybuilders of all time. This guy would do the splits and just create, and very muscular, right? But he did this at the end of every workout. He would do these really deep static stretches, and he would talk about how painful it was. So the way to do this, if you want to experiment with this, is when you're done training a body part, is to grab either a light set of dumbbells or cables, not heavy, because you'll put yourself in a vulnerable position. But let's say I'm doing chest and I'm done with chest. I would grab maybe 20-pound dumbbells, and then I'd sit in a fly position and just try to let the dumbbells go down as far as I can let them go and stretch the pump muscle, right? So for back, I would just like hang from a bar. For biceps, I maybe would grab onto a bar behind me and get into a deep stretch. For quads, obviously, I could sit on my heels. And it's gnarly. I've experimented a lot with this, and I do see muscle growth from it. I do. It's almost like, now I don't see it like, I see this kind of initial growth, and then it kind of plateaus a little bit. But nonetheless, you get, and it's an easy thing to add. Literally a 10-minute of really deep static stretching at the end of your workout will get you some of these results.
I don't want to recommend this because because of the probably the high risk potentially for the average person, but I saw a lot of benefits when we would do this actually with very loaded. And so like this was my early 20s, and this was one of the things I think that helped me get beyond like the 225 bench. So back when I don't even think I was even able to bench 225. It was getting to the place where I could do 225. I remember my buddies putting 315 on the bar, and each guy standing on each side, and then me holding it in the stretch, like just barely off, and being in that isometric position for like 5 seconds. I also remember just racking it and then holding it, and just getting the CNS used to stabilizing that much weight at the top, holding that much and trying to drive that much force from the bottom. Yeah. Man, I got really comfortable with being able to, and I know you're recommending doing a lightweight in that position.
This is more of a stretch. Like you're trying to get as much of a stretch as possible. What you're doing is isometric, and that is also freaking amazing.
Well, it's muscle recruitment is really what you're doing, which is great. Because I mean, I used to do the same thing, and it was really teaching the body, like, this is the literal demand you're going to need at this bottom position. And so to be able to like connect to that and understand how much more you have to produce, to work on that and then recruit more muscle fibers, I think that's a valuable way to, approach getting beyond what you're capable of.
What's crazy is with isometric stuff, all the muscle contractions, that activates the most muscle fibers.
Yeah.
When you're pushing against an immovable object as hard as you can, your muscle fibers just all activate because the weight or whatever's not moving.
Yeah.
And so when people talk about, try to activate more muscle fibers, try to activate, like a hard isometric will do it better than anything else. An easy piece of equipment you could create yourself is you could bolt 2 chains to the ground. And so you have multiple attachments. And then you could literally, if you have collars, attach the chains to collars, put a bar on it, get underneath it with a bench and just push, in different positions, or squat in different positions and just drive into it for 10, 15 seconds.
I guess what I'm confused about, or what I can't quite wrap my brain around, is how those two ways are that different. And the way that I'm communicating, why would that not be why would you not get all the same benefits that you're talking about in addition to also trying to move this immovable object? Like you're like, okay, like who is going to potentially build more muscle? Okay. And then we'll say, let's say you and I, our routines are identical and everything's identical. Right. The only difference is you take a 20-pound dumbbells and you hold the deep stretch. I take the barbell and I go into a deep stretch and put 315 on and hold it. Like, who's going to benefit the most out of this, and how much are they that much different?
They're different. They both have a different demand on the body. So what you're doing is much more demanding.
It's a different curve too.
Yeah, like if I'm driving into something as hard as I can, that's a much bigger demand on the body. It's going to require a little bit more recovery, cause a little more damage than just, sitting in a stretch or holding a stretch, which is definitely more passive. So I think that's the difference. I don't necessarily think one is better than the other. It depends on who you apply it to, what other stresses they have in their training. I don't know about applying both at the same time. That might be too much.
Yeah, I think that would be. I think they're too similar that you're kind of like,
they are similar.
It's like why I would probably play with one or the other. I think I would see myself. Let's say I had a really heavy chest training day anyways, I would probably end it with something that you're doing this.
Yeah.
Versus, let's say what I'm doing would be something closer to the beginning of the workout.
I agree.
Where I'm fresh.
I agree.
Because I want to be able to give everything I got.
I 100% agree. I would do the stretch at the end when I already have a crazy pump. Because by the way, a pump with a deep stretch feels crazy. What you're saying, to activate all the muscle fibers.
Yeah.
Start your workout out with a hard isometric push or contraction, then get into your sets.
Yeah,
you're more likely to have those muscle fibers be active throughout the workout.
It's funny, and like what's similar, and anybody who's done this before.
By the way, this is pre-priming and post-priming. MAPS Prime, we put this in there.
Yeah,
I know. Yeah.
So this kind of reminds me. I always love, like, so I was deadlifting heavy the other day. I always love to jump up on the pull-up bar after I do a heavy deadlift. You go deadlift 400 plus pounds for a couple singles or triples, and then you jump up on the pull-up bar. You would think you would be fatigued because you just lifted this super heavy weight, but I think you
recruit so much.
Yeah, you've recruited so much back muscle that you go to do the pull-up and I fly up. It's such a wild feeling. So if you've never experimented with that, so I think that going back to your point you're making, you're right. That's how I would do that. I would do the 315 hold at the bottom, do that for one or two times, and then go into my bench press. And I think I would see benefits from that.
Dude, speaking of pull-ups, yesterday I was like, I'm gonna just do like one set per body part. I don't have much time, and I got to pull-ups, and I said, I'm gonna see how many I can do. I haven't done that in a long time, fresh. Like, let's just see how many pull-ups I can do. I got to 20.
Really?
20 pull-ups.
As heavy as you are right now, too?
I'm not super heavy right now. I'm only 206 right now.
Oh, you've came down quite a bit.
Yeah, because it's the snoring. Keeping the snoring under control.
Did you really get 20?
20 reps at 206. Now, could I do that?
Were you watching him, Doug?
I was not.
Yeah.
We'll
Were they suspect pull-ups? Were they like?
I haven't seen them.
Or what? Yeah.
They were no. They were good enough. I definitely did. I definitely didn't do the ones where I hang at the bottom.
Right.
And so it was like I'd stop here and then come all the way up and stop here. Right. But hanging, if I went at the bottom and hung, I think I'd get like 10, 12. That's
I was gonna say that's where I'm at, like 10, dude.
Yeah,
but I do lock it up.
But you also, I mean, how much you weigh right now?
Like 225 at least.
Oh, that's not too bad.
230, yeah.
Yeah, see, if I was 230, I think I wouldn't be able to do more than 10 myself. So I know that's why I remember when I first started cutting way back in the day. And then I did more pull-ups, and I forgot that I was lighter. So I was like, "Oh, I'm getting stronger while I'm cutting. This is great!" Like writing it down.
Yeah.
I lost 10 pounds.
Pull-ups are such a funny thing. Like, I mean, I've been doing them pretty consistent in my routine lately. So actually, I'm pretty strong. I think I did the other day 12 of them, and I'm like at some of my heavy. I'm at 235 right now.
Oh wow!
So for me to rep out 12 at 235, if I got all the way down to 200 right now, I should be. And then if I just kept doing pull-ups and reduced my weight down there, I would fly up there.
What body fat percentage would you be at 200 pounds? Like 2%?
Yeah. Oh, you
would be shredded.
My national show, which was amateur going pro, was 203.
Oh, so that's stage weight.
Yeah, that's stage weight and smaller. I wasn't I'm much bigger, and then I went to pro, and then I hit pro stage at 213, 214.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So I could, but I don't think I have nowhere near. Definitely not as close as muscle
with the lean body mass.
Yeah, I could easily get down to I think 205 to 209, and I wouldn't be as shredded as stage because I don't think I'm not training with the same volume and frequency I was.
Yeah, at the body weight I'm at now, I probably am sitting around 8% body fat, I guess, something like that. So I don't want to go any lower. But the way I'm maintaining it is just generally not eating as much. I mean, I'm not really cutting much. I'll skip a meal here and there and just not snack, and it seems to keep me, where I'm at. It's funny since going on, TRT, and then I'll mess around with some of the peptides here and there. It's like all this muscle memory I have from all the years of training really turns everything on. which is cool, but also it's like if I don't keep myself this lean, I snore. And I hate wearing the freaking shit that makes you not snore. Either the CPAP or this or that. I'm like, babe. My wife's like, put it on. I'm like, you don't understand. I feel like Darth Vader.
Yeah.
Well, it's also like
with a big neck. It's like, oh, dude, you're potentially going to have sleep apnea. That tripped me out. I was like, oh man.
Well, I don't know. Too. I also feel it's kind of like going and getting calf implants. You know, it's kind of like the same thing. It's like you know you can fix it. That's what you battle with. The same thing why I won't do it. It's like the same reason why I won't go order the CPAP is because I know if I discipline myself to get down to low.
Wait, what does that mean with calf implants? How's that
it's like it's meaning that you don't get that. It's something you can fix. You could go get calf implants and make your calves look bigger and better, or you could go and you could put a CPAP machine on and to improve your sleep. But you're a professional in that field. You know how to address both those things.
Ah, very good. Got it.
You get it?
That makes sense now.
That's
I was trying to connect it to.
Was it that off? Was that off, Doug? When
I got it, Adam.
Okay, thank you. I was like, I thought it was an easy analogy.
No, that was good. That was really good.
Yeah, I mean, and coming from our profession, right? It's different. Like if it's. I mean, this is something that...
You're right. I don't want to do it artificially.
Yeah.
I want to do it the right way because here's the way I look at it is if my body's too big, even if it's not body fat, because at first I was stubborn because I'm like, screw it, I'm lean. I don't give a shit, you know?
Yeah.
But look, if my body's just too big...
It's telling you.
That's telling me.
Yeah.
So if I need to add something to give me good
100%.
sleep, then... I'm just too big, you know. My frame is not made to be, heavier than what I'm at right now.
Yeah, that's why I haven't because I know that. You know what I'm saying? I know that. I know that my body is giving me those signs naturally. It's like, and it would fly right in the face of everything we preach and we talk about.